Three, two, one. What's good, people? Welcome back to London Boy Podcast. It's your host Vinny. I'm back with another episode. I've got a very special guest here today called Jordan. Jordan, how's it going?
Going good.
Good. You excited for this episode?
I'm interested to see where this conversation can go. Yeah.
Of course. And up to now, have you checked out any of the content or anything like that?
Little snippets, just to make sure you were legit. But apart from that, I kind of like winging on the spot. I'm not a script person, so
Yeah, neither.
wait to see what would happen.
Just out of curiosity, which snippets have you checked out?
Oh no, that would be telling.
Oh no. Oh, got you. So, do you want to tell the listeners a bit more about yourself?
Where do I start?
Just an introduction, your name, your age, what you do.
Okay. Well, my name is Jordan Margaret Robbins.
Yeah.
That's what I go by. Normally shortened to Jordan Robbins or just Jordan.
Yeah.
Or just Jord when people
Jord.
can't be asked to say my name. Yeah. It's great. No, I'm 23, London-based. Recently adopted the title of serial entrepreneur, which I don't know how I feel about being called a serial anything, but
Yeah.
I'll take it for what it is. And I've pretty much been running my own businesses since I was about 19.
Nice. So, when you say serial entrepreneurs, are you running several businesses at the same time, or have you started one and stopped it and started another one?
Bit of a mix.
Yeah.
So my background really came from university. I studied film and TV.
Oh,
At university, my plan was sort of to go into TV or film and create movies and stories. I love script writing and I loved sort of bringing stories to life.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, when I worked in a studio with about 13 other young, passionate people, I wanted to murder them all. So I realised that group work wasn't a thing for me. Yeah. I realised that I was probably going to, not enjoy it as much. So I came out of that. I don't know if that's ever going to come around. And started doing videography as a business. So that's always been my main since I left university for the last couple of years. And then lockdown happened. Yeah.
You said lockdown. So videography, was that your first ever business then?
I would say yes, unless you count like making little crafts and stuff when I was younger and selling them on eBay as a business. But yeah, it's the first proper business that I think I've set up. I used to do videos, so I still do, but I did videos for businesses and trailers, product shots.
Wow.
And then obviously lockdown happened and that became very complicated very quickly. And I was realizing around that time that I went into business to work for myself and still felt like I was working for other people. I needed a more creative outlet. So although I still do videography, most of it's passion projects and charity work.
Oh, I've got you. So,
Yeah.
Give us a little tour about through the different businesses you've started.
So definitely my main focus at the moment is Robbins Candle Co. Very different from videography, but obviously my videography, graphics design, and website background helps. My videography business turned into a all sort of media enterprise in a sense. So I still collaborate with a few people, but it became graphics design, social media, websites, and videography. And that's still running. It's just me personally. I only take on passion projects, but there is people I collaborate and work with under that banner that still work. So I have my candles, I have my videography. I also have a new business that is still very in its teething processes, but it's craft kits.
Craft kits.
Yep. You will find a lot of crafts out there, but it's quite hard to find a singular place where you could go and learn a craft or learn a lot of them in one go. So that's something I'm working on with someone else.
Understood.
And then I have my fingers in a few other little pies as support or stuff. But yeah, it's busy.
Nice. And you see the craft kit. Is that more of an educational based business?
Yes. Let's say educational and wellness. Yeah, the reason I got involved in it, obviously through doing the candles, I've got to meet a lot more crafty people, a lot more makers.
Yeah.
I think many of new businesses that started in lockdown were very crafty, very what can we do at home sort of businesses, and most of them are amazing. Yeah. Some of the talent that's been hidden is just insane. And so a lot of them started making kits to teach you how to do it yourself, if that's with clay making or mosaic or knitting or paper weaving. There's hundreds upon hundreds of different crafts, and the do-it-yourself kits sort of, there's a lot of benefit, a lot of health benefits to them as well, especially with being at home. So we wanted to make a hub or a place that they could all be in one together.
Of course.
And you could subscribe and get a different kit to try out each month, or you can learn if you have like rhythmatism or autism. Yeah. We can tailor it to that, and crafts and kits you could do with family or friends or children. So yeah, there's a lot to it. As I said, it's still in very new baby stages, but I'm excited to see where it goes, because the only place I know when I think of craft kits and stuff is Hobbycraft, and it doesn't support the small businesses, which I'm really passionate about doing, is helping small businesses.
Yeah. Just by the summary you've given, you just sound like a very creative person. You know?
I am, yeah. Well, all of the social media, the graphics, everything I do for the businesses, I do myself. Oh. I do have one or two graphics designers that I trust like wholeheartedly. So when I get overworked, it's like, hey, take my stuff, do my stuff. Like I drop it on their lap. But yeah, I've always been very creative.
Oh, that's very interesting. Funny enough, you're 23. I'm 23 as well. Was you born in 97?
Yep.
Yeah, same here. And it's crazy. Just being able to speak to someone that's gone into business full time. You know?
Yeah. I think I had a very interesting upbringing. Both of my parents have always been self-employed.
Yeah.
I didn't know any different. And obviously when you're in school, you do sort of a work experience sesh. And that put me off working for someone very quickly. Yeah. So I sort of just decided very quickly that I knew I was going to be doing it on my own. And it's hard. I'm not going to knock it. Deciding to work for yourself is like a full-time, dedicated commitment to not being a slacker. Probably.
100%, because it's sink or swim, isn't it?
It is, and I think you've got to have the passion, because without that, you don't really get anywhere.
Yeah, definitely, and so you've had you've got the creative passion behind you, which is always a good drive to have.
Yep. I definitely don't do anything that I don't have a passion for, because I know when I go into it that my heart's not in it.
Yeah.
And it's harder to get out of bed when your heart's not in it.
Yeah, I can understand that. And yeah, so what made you want to create scented candles?
So the story I tell everyone, I can elaborate on a little bit here because we have a bit of time. So when lockdown happened, I turned around very quickly to my parents and said, I want to spend a month working out what the hell I'm going to do, because I want to see if there's anything else apart from videography I'm interested in, or that creative sort of media scene. And it literally spurred from a conversation in the garden.
Wow.
And me being picked on about how much money I spent on candles each year.
Really?
Yeah. And it was, I think it was my dad that said, hey, why don't you try and make your own? That might save you money. And obviously we're in lockdown, so you'd have something to do. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And making my own was fun. And then we went, actually, why don't we see if this could be a business, and go from there. And it sort of spiraled. I definitely didn't go into it with any, hey, this is going to be a good idea, or this is going to be eco-friendly or sustainable. That's all grown with it.
Yeah.
And the idea to use cans instead of glass that came a little bit further in it as well. We never sold glass containers. We've always sold the cans, but we did push back experimenting and testing and stuff on the products, because literally one day my dad turned around and went, why don't we try and put a candle in a can and see if that works? And it worked better than us doing it in glass. We realised then we had a massive recycling angle that would have been great. So
and also aesthetically, that's quite quirky as well, isn't it?
it's different. I don't know if I would completely say it's better than glass. It's my company. I know I want to like knock it up, but we currently have a refill project now. We've had it for maybe a week. I've done 4 or 5 refills, and people that have glass containers can hand them in to us, and we will refill them with high quality waxes and oils, because the can look isn't for everyone. And people do have really gorgeous containers that they'll have for the aesthetic or the decor of their home. And yeah, they want them refilled instead. So we don't sell like the box standard glass ones. We do sell the cans in luxury format. But yeah, we will also refill any sized candle, because we're definitely more on the sustainable route now than we were at the beginning of the business.
That's very creative. I've never heard or seen anything like it myself.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to ask. So, at what point did you feel like I'm going to do business full time? How, like, let's say most people right now, I'm sort of on a path where I'm trying to get into property, but I know I need to save. I need to gain a bit of experience in the industry and save a certain amount until I go in. I don't know if I could just just leave my day job and go straight into business just because of that fear of failure. What made you think, oh no, I'm gonna do it 100%?
It's interesting because I've never thought the other way.
Oh, so you've that one track mind, basically.
I've never had what, and I call it a 9 to 5. In that sense, I've never had one. And anytime I sort of joke about it with friends, I say to them, I will get a 9 to 5 job when you tell me it's better than what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And they never do. It's the hours don't suit them, or the pay isn't enough, or they don't like the people they're working with. There's always something. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, if you're moaning about it, why would I ever want to do it? And I had this conversation as well, the fear of not having the stability.
Yeah, stability wise.
All I can say is that I've really been raised to believe that if you are not doing something you enjoy every second of the day, you shouldn't be doing it. You live once.
So you're creating your own stability through...
yes. And I'm not going to lie, it's hard. Yeah. But you've also got to learn, and you do very quickly when you work for yourself, to live within your means.
Okay.
And if your means, and if you want to grow your means, then you work harder to get to what you want. You never sit in your comfort zone. I don't think I've been in my comfort zone for the last 5 years of my life. Yeah. There's always something once a week that I end up doing that completely, I'm like, oh my god, why am I doing this? If that's walking up to someone I've never spoke to before, or going into a shop to see if they want to stock my candles, or getting a cold call from somebody asking me to do a podcast. Yeah. This is what I'm saying. There's always something. And I think it's a combination of, as long as you're working in your passion and enjoying what you're doing, every second of every day, you're doing something right. Even if you're not a millionaire, even if you're not driving the fanciest car, you're enjoying life. Yeah. And that enjoyment is what you will take on with you for the rest of your life. The car you're driving, the watch you're wearing means nothing. It's material.
Definitely. So I always sort of point out this misconception when it comes to entrepreneurship, where people, they assume that you're either going to become a millionaire in 1 year, or you have to be driving a fancy car, the image. But realistically, the passion and the hard work and living outside your comfort zone comes first,
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think it's also what you associate with success.
Success, yeah.
We obviously in the media get pushed with money, wealth, cars as success, but in theory, driving a really expensive car and a watch isn't wealth; it's debt.
It's debt.
Having a lot of money in savings, in ISAs, having a great house. Generally, they are things that you can associate with wealth.
Yeah.
But all the things you buy, the newest iPhone,
the liabilities.
Yeah, they're debt at the end of the day. And that's a lot of, and at least I've seen it with a few of the people that have gone into sort of entrepreneurship around me, is they live outside of their means. So you go, yes, I want the fanciest new phone to do my work with, or I'm going to spend money on a camera that I don't need.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why they're not where they want to be at the point they want to be, because you focus on the wrong things.
Of course, it's all about that discipline aspect, you know.
It's hard. It is hard. A lot of my friends are American, so stateside, sort of that way.
Yeah.
And especially in lockdown, my dedication to work and not just playing games has been challenged because everyone's at home.
Yeah.
So even if we wanted to go out and work and have that normal distance you would have with going to a job, or even if you work for yourself, going to work, hasn't been there. And I said to you before we came on the podcast, I pretty much napped all afternoon. That's because I'm up till 2 a.m. in the morning. Working with them and doing stuff with them. And then, so if you don't have the dedication to get up in the morning, which does definitely change, because when you're doing something you love, that passion, instead of going to work at a bar, it's different.
Yeah.
But you need to commit to yourself. I think when you decide to work for yourself, it's a lot about knowing who you are, knowing what your stumbling blocks are, and mitigating them, stopping that from being a stopping point, and also just stop putting up excuses. I'm really good at excuses for myself. Like, oh no, I can do it tomorrow, I'm too tired today, or
so
I have something else to do.
Excuses for yourself as well.
Oh, I'm terrible. Yeah. I know, and I do this all the time. I will go to bed at night and I'll think, I really love my life, but I know I could be 10 steps further ahead than I am if I didn't do the stuff that I didn't need to do.
Yeah, I always do that as well.
Yeah.
There's something to be done.
There's always something to be done. Yeah. And it's only recently, and it's quite interesting, because when your friend phoned me to say, hey, would you consider doing this podcast? Yeah. I was like, yeah, okay. And I sort of sat there and was like, you know what? It is out of my comfort zone. It's going to be fun. It's going to be different. And then even today, I completely lost track of time because I was doing stuff I shouldn't be doing. Yeah. So it happens. And I think the best thing you can do is not beat yourself up over it either.
Definitely. And you know what you say there with, that all comes down to self-discipline as well. You're doing well, but even the slightest thing that you don't do, I don't know, I just feel I sort of tend to guilt trip myself a lot about it.
Yeah, I have in the past, and I would if you can try not to. Yeah. Because, so the best way to explain it is, without going into too much depth because I don't want to bore people, is I have a great community of people in the States that I speak to, and we all connect over this one game. When lockdown happened, it just grew from 5 of us, and there's at least 200 of us now that play it.
What game is that?
Final Fantasy.
Oh, which one? Was that the remake?
14, the MMO.
Oh, it's not the 7 remake?
No. We a lot of them do play different ones, but we, as a community, play 14 because it's an online MMO, and there's a lot in it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so obviously we set times to do stuff together in that game, if it's crafting or fighting bosses or etc. And we can spend 4 or 5 hours streaming the game online together like we did today and completely lose track of time. Yeah. And I can go to bed at night and go, I did 5 hours of work this morning and then 5 hours of stream, and I'm thinking I could have spent that 5 hours of stream doing more 5 hours of work, and earn more money. Now, at the end of the day, then I say to myself, you live once.
do.
So if you get enjoyment out of playing that game, even if it's not earning you money, if it's not putting stuff on your back, clothes on your back, at the end of the day, that's your life.
Yeah.
As long as you can live with the money you're earning and you're fine with that, then that should also be wealth, and that's emotional wealth. And I think that's more important than physical money. At the end of the day, we're all trying to earn something that's completely material.
Definitely.
And we judge our lives around it, and it's weird.
We do. And me and my friend David, we always say this to each other: money comes and goes, but you can't get time back.
Yes.
So how are you spending that time?
Yeah. So don't guilt trip yourself because. Yeah, don't guilt trip yourself because you're like, oh, I could have done more if I hadn't have done that. Because if you did something else than work, especially if work is very passionate for you, you're still doing something you're enjoying. And that's what you've got to balance up. I love making candles. I love experimenting with scents. I love seeing people's faces when they're like, oh my God, this smells amazing. And every time I make a sale, I'm like, oh my God, this is actually a thing. Like, I actually have a business that's in profit. Wow. It's insane. And then I spend hours and hours on a game, and it's like, hey, I'm earning money. I'm not missing deadlines. I'm enjoying everything I'm doing. Why can't I spend a week playing a game and not have any issues? So, yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
That's great, as you've managed to find that work-life balance, and you're still earning and you're still enjoying yourself, you know, doing what you love.
I'm not going to say it's easy. It isn't, and it definitely takes time.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it is stop listening to all of these, like, bullet point lists online about how you're meant to do stuff, and start listening to yourself. Mm-hmm. If you're someone who loves being outdoors, loves being more physical, do more of it. If you're someone who enjoys chatting and playing online with friends, don't let anybody shame you into thinking that's a bad thing. Pretty much listening to yourself.
Yeah, because obviously you hear a lot of stuff online, but I always say that with everything you want to do, whether it be, you know, like to do with your finances or your well-being or your enjoyment, like nothing is ever one size fits all, you know.
Yeah.
You
completely agree.
Got to find a balance yourself and try different things.
I would not suggest anybody live the life I live. I'm an absolute nutcase. And if I tried to list off what my day looked like, most people would be like, okay, when do you sleep? I'm like, I don't. It's not a thing.
What's sleep?
It's not a thing. What? No, I'm not always like this. And I do crash. I think that's also another thing, is being an entrepreneur. Everyone says find your balance. Like you said, find your work-life balance. Yeah. I agree. Mm-hmm. But I also think in the place where the work-life balance is all completely not a bull. Yeah. Like, it's not a thing. I think the work and life for me are one thing.
Yeah, it's all
work is my life. Yeah, work is my life. And it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm technically always working. Like I network with other businesses. I'm working. I'm going out to have a coffee with someone. I'm technically still working. I'm walking into shops to buy stuff. I'm seeing if this would be a good shop to ask if I could stock my candles. I'm working. I'm on social media. I'm working. There isn't a place, even when I'm on a game, I'm still in some way working. It might not be directly with the game, but it'll be editing photos and multitasking. So you can't judge and that's then when you get with how do you price your stuff and like how much do you pay yourself an hour. When you work for yourself, you've got to throw all of the norms of earning money per hour and judging yourself on an hourly worth out the window.
So are you one of those people, you keep money in the business rather than taking out for yourself?
Yes. Yeah. When the business gets to a point where it's earning enough, I will then take a wage out of it or a director's loan, depending on how the business is set up. But most of the time, at least for the first year, that business, I very rarely take money out of it. Now, that didn't work the same right at the beginning. When the videography business happened, I was sole trader. Okay. So whatever money I earned was mine. Obviously, when you go into different types of businesses, that's different. but yeah, I'm very wary about putting I earn this much an hour on stuff, because if I was to earn a certain amount an hour, I would literally be paying myself a wage for 24 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And it's when you work for yourself, that work-life balance, it blurs. It's not a work-life balance anymore. It's work. Like, I do a lot with my mum, and most of our conversations are work-based or networking-based. And I have no issue with that. My relationship with her is absolutely amazing, and that's because we go down to breakfast and she'll go, "What are you doing today?" And I'll be like, "Candles, maybe. Graphics design, maybe." And she'll be like, "You have a plan?" I'm like, "I'll do something today." And yeah, it's just how it works. And then we'll have lunch and it'll be work chat again, because that work-life balance is just life.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Because I used to I did a podcast 4 years ago with someone, a YouTube influencer called Uncle Rob, and I've met him at a networking event. I used to go to a lot of networking events, and he brought up something called one bucket, which is basically every aspect of your life that's important to you, you're throwing that into that bucket, whether it be your work life, personal life, everything. Just throw it in there, you know.
Yep.
And what you just said there sort of reminds me of that one bucket rule, because you're literally living in those 24 hours in the day. You're living, one life. There's no work life and there's no personal life. It's all in one, right?
Yeah, I understand. There's a lot of individuals that would prefer being able to like compartmentalize their life.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'd ever be able to do it. And it's definitely caused issues with like dating and stuff like that. And it's because I was looking at the wrong people, in all fairness. Like the individuals that are in my life at the moment, I would say understand me.
Yeah.
If they come around for dinner, they're expecting to hear a little bit of work, because that is my life. And it's not like it's easy to avoid. They walk into my kitchen and go, "Oh my God, that smells amazing. Oh, look, we're talking about candles. Oh, look, that's work." And you don't really, when you get into the point where it's not this massive, am I working, am I relaxing sort of thing, it changes. And the lines just blur. You don't get that whole, "Oh, you're talking about this," anymore. It's just, this is my life. This is how I live. This is how I choose to live, and I enjoy it. So.
Wow,
it's like I'm on a podcast right now at 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like I find that amazing how you're able to do that. Because like, yeah, I don't mind, working, doing what I have to do throughout the day, and then going home, recording a podcast and whatnot. But sometimes I just feel like I need to switch off and just take a break and just play on the PlayStation and not think about anything. Just for stress sake, to that stress management.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to sort of how you describe that.
Yeah.
You said you have to take a break and play on the PlayStation and just chill.
Yeah.
For me, that isn't. Sorry, I have background noise. For me, that isn't different to what I normally do. So because I don't define it as work and life, because work-life is the same thing for me, me choosing to go and play a game isn't me choosing not to work. It's just, that's my choice. That's what I'm doing right now. That is a part of my life. That is a part of my day. And I'm going to get as much enjoyment out of that as going to do something else.
Wow, so you've managed to find that sort of blend. That's crazy.
I choose to do. It's pretty much a case of choosing to do what you want to do when you want to do it. And then nothing stops anyone from doing that. I think we let fear hold us back on what we want to do. We trick ourselves into thinking we have to have a certain job or we have to be earning a certain amount instead of just living.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do when you want to do it, and be cautious whilst you're doing that you need to live in the culture and the society you live within. You can't live without money.
Yeah, of course.
So how can you earn money through doing stuff that you enjoy doing, e.g. podcasts, e.g. playing games. People have been smart enough to earn money out of it, and now they're doing it for a living, so but be cautious that if you don't see it as just life, and if you still compartmentalize it, going into gaming for a living ends up being not as fun as it was beforehand, because it's work. And if you see it as work and you stigmatize it as what everyone else sees it as work, you won't enjoy it as much.
So that just comes down to your perception.
Yes, it's all perception, it's all description.
Of course. It's like, I'll give you an example for this podcast. When I do it, I literally just enjoy talking about stuff I'm interested in, And I don't, even though it's editing and it might feel like work, I don't really see it as work, I just see it as just a hobby, and if I manage to build something from it, financially, even better.
Yeah. And that's what I think all work should really be, in essence. I'm not going to say that all work is easy, because it's not. And I'm not going to knock off the fact that having an equivalent of a 9 to 5 or getting paid by the hour is a bad thing either. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone.
Of course.
Same as working in a pub isn't for everyone, or being a tradesman isn't everyone. You've got to find where your passion lies. And I know some amazing tradespeople that have done the get up at 6 a.m, get home at 8 p.m. for years. But they love what they do. And that's it. They don't see it as work, they see it as their life.
So even though somebody looking from the outside looking in, they might think, wow, that person's a grafter, he leaves at 6, gets home at 8. They don't, to that person, it doesn't feel like work. It's just part of their life, just their passion,
I've got up at some ridiculous times in the morning to get to places that you say to other people and they're like, why are you doing that? And then I sit there and I'm like, because it's fun. Wait, am I not meant to be doing this? I stay up till, let's say 2 a.m. in the morning on average. I stay up at 2 a.m. in the morning on average so that I can chat to a lot of my friends in the States. And then I'm up at 8 a.m. And people are like, but that's 6 hours sleep. I'm like, yeah, but then I have this really comfy chair that I just nap in the afternoon when I need a nap. Like adults don't nap. I'm like, yeah, they do. They earn money and they do. So I'm napping. I'm fine.
Of course. Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm glad that you came with a different perspective on business.
Yeah, it's different. I'm quite weird with my views. I'm not really sure where most of them have come from, but I know that I generally go to and I gravitate towards what I enjoy and get stuff out of life. Because unless you're enjoying it, I don't see the point in doing it.
Yeah, you're doing yourself a disservice, basically.
Yeah. Definitely.
Just wanted to ask, so I don't know how comfortable you are with sharing or giving your point of view on this, but let's say somebody wants to go into business full time. How would you give it a sort of time frame for when they can make a living from it? I'm not talking about become rich off it, but earn enough to think, I'll quit my job, I can make a living on this.
So there's a few things I would consider before going into business for yourself. Not like there's this is a tick box quiz that tells you if you're right for entrepreneurship. But one, what type of business are you planning on going into? There is a lot of industries and professions that take a lot more work, a lot more time before you get anything back from them. You've got to play your investment right. So if you're going into, let's say, a restaurant or something that takes a lot of initial investment, you're going to take longer to see the initial return. Big investment. Especially if you've got to hire, especially if you've got to have people involved. I don't know too much when it comes to that side of things. I've only just started looking at taking on sort of staff and things for my business, and even then I'm terrified. Because I hate working for people, so I don't know how I'm going to feel having people work for me. So it's different, and at some point maybe I'll have a later chat with you and say, yeah, it went fine, I didn't murder anyone. But if you're going into a business that has less of a initial startup, I think a lot of it is down to you on how fast you make that back.
And that comes down to the work.
It does. Initially, it comes down to the grind. How many people are you talking to about your business? How many network opportunities are you taking? How committed are you to getting a return on your investment, how small it is? If you sit there at home and go, okay, at my computer, I'm going to do some graphics design. Oh, wait, where's my clients? It's not going to happen.
Yeah, you have to be out there.
You have to be out there, even if that's more of a digital sense. It's not a case of posting a photo on Instagram and hoping somebody works with you. It's following other people, talking to them, being invested in them. We're a very communicative, we want to communicate. We want to feel like we're all special. We want to feel like we're all inclusive, that we can chat and bond, even if that's in a digital sense. We don't just want to have someone go, hey, I do this, buy my service.
Yeah.
We don't. We hate being sold to. It's not just an English thing. We hate being sold to as just a human race. So it's about if you have the passion to do something, no matter what it is, no matter how big the investment is at the beginning, and you work at it with, I would say, goals that aren't rigid and can be shifted, you will get back what you put in. I wouldn't say, hey, I want to earn this much then, unless you need that much structure. I would probably cry if that was my structure. But yeah, for me, it comes down to passion and determination.
Passion and determination, yeah.
I think that's where I sit with, if you're going to earn money back out of a business, don't use excuses. Don't blame other things on other people. It's on you. And as long as you put the effort in and don't let anything stop you, you'll do fine.
Definitely. And from what you just said there, you emphasised on how important it is to network.
Yes.
And get yourself out there. And see, my cousin Jerry knows you from a networking group, right?
Yes, we have been networking together on a weekly basis for about 4 years.
Wow. So you want to share how you got into, was it BNI, right?
Yes, that's quite an interesting one. Normally when I have conversations about BNI, it's people that have no idea what it is. So BNI is Business Networking International.
Yeah.
It started in the States about 37 years ago. And if you have networked before, you will have either gone to a networking group that is very missionary. You walk in there and you feel like they want to find out where your wallet is and how much they can get out of you before you leave.
Of course.
Or you go to a very social network where it's all airy-fairy, you feel like everyone in the room wants the attention, there's no real business being done, it's more like a coffee social afternoon. And I've experienced both. And BNI is a perfect merge of the two of them. The idea of it is you build relationships, and I'll keep saying that in business. If you're an entrepreneur or if you work a 9 to 5, you will do better the better relationships you have. You'll hear the phrase, it's who you know. You'll hear the phrase, it's not who you know, it's how well you know them.
Yeah.
It is how well you know them. Oh no, that's it. It's not how many people you know, it's who you know. But it's not who you know, it's how well you know that person. There you go. Sorry, it's in my brain. And that's the case. We literally meet up each week. There's hundreds of groups around England and the world, and we can network with each other. We can network globally, and you build relationships with other businesses that want to do business and know that the more they can give to other people, the more they'll get out of it. Jero is a star. He drives me mad because he'll call me up and go, hey, you know that shop you asked to be put in touch with? Hey, I got you an introduction to them. And I'm like, yay, I need to think of another shop I want to get asked to introduce to, which is much harder than getting the introduction. But that's what we do. Yeah.
He gets results, doesn't he?
He does. And that's what I'm saying. And he gives that to me without any expectation of money or return or nothing. But because he's done that, I feel indebted to find him work. And some businesses are easier than others. And at some point I will find a way of finding work for him. But it's also not a pressure case of you have to. It's the more you use your mouth in proportion to your ears and listen out for what people need, that then referrals, in a sense, what we call them, for your lap. And that's it. I love my group. They're nutcases, and I miss them and meeting in person, because obviously we've been in line. But yeah, a lot of us have been together for 4 years, and we grow, and there's new people that join us, and there's people that will leave. And it's just a natural cycle, and the people that are there are earning amazingly. I would not have a business without them.
Wow, so how did you actually get into, did you stumble across it? Did you see an ad? Did you know somebody that was in it?
So most of the time, the reason you don't go to BNI is you've never been invited. It's not there's no advertising, it's all word of mouth. You get invited by somebody who is in there generally, because we only accept people that are good at what they do. You don't get into a group by just attending and joining. You get in by applying, and if the group wants you, they'll take you. We're not a sort of, I wouldn't say we're an exclusive club, but you have to, it's all about relationships. So if you don't click with the people in the room, you're not going to be a part of that group, because you need to click with the people in the room. So I'm currently sat in a box office sort of room in my house. I choose to live with my family because I don't live alone. I hate living alone. And my mum 5 years ago was sat here. She was a single woman, single accountancy practice, and she did everything herself. She had a handful of clients. I was sort of 18, sort of at university, and she got a random cold call, which she would have never answered in her life. And it was another accountant asking her if she wanted to come along to a BNI meeting as a bookkeeper. Didn't know who he was, never heard of him before. And she said yes, because it was sort of summer holidays, so my younger brother was off of school. I was old enough to take care of myself. And she went along, found out what it was. And because it was summer holidays and she completely forgot what her prior commitments were, signed up and got accepted. And I didn't know for about 6 months that she was sneaking out on a Wednesday morning to go to this meeting in a pub in a Wednesday morning. It was great. And then about the time I had 9 months left of university, I was asked to come and sub for members that couldn't be there to represent their businesses. It was a very weird introduction. It's not a way that really anyone gets to be introduced to BNI. I was a special case. I was 19. I didn't have my own business at the time. I didn't have any idea of how I would have a business. And when the group got to about 32, I was asked if I wanted to join as a videographer before they launched as an official chapter.
Wow.
And I still had 6 months left of university. And I realized at that point I didn't want to go into being a studio person. So I was like, actually, okay, cool. Let's start my own business. No idea how I was going to get the equipment. No idea how I was going to get to the meetings. And pretty much what happened was I would borrow university equipment for the next 6 months. Totally with their awareness and knowledge.
With their approval.
As I say that, yeah, totally, yeah. They totally knew. No, let's just not go into that one. And I commuted from Southampton to Enfield once a week to meet the meetings in the morning. I would drive up Tuesday nights and then go back Wednesday or Thursday so I could get my classes. Let's just say the person who invited me to join that chapter owes me. and he is still paying that debt, because that was probably the hardest 6 months of my life. That commute is dire when you have to do it twice a week. Don't do it.
I bet looking back now, it was worth it, eh?
It was definitely worth it. And I think the best thing is, obviously, when I left university, I obviously didn't have the equipment. And because I'd been in the chapter 6 months, not a mortgage person, but a loan person, gave me, pretty much as a 19-year-old, gave me a 40 grand loan to buy my own equipment. And that's unheard of in sort of, it wouldn't have happened, I don't think, without that trust of being a good business and being in BNI. They took a risk on a 19-year-old who had joined BNI because BNI had accepted me.
Yeah.
And I can't thank them enough, because now I'm still paying off a bit of that loan. I think I'm nearly done, which is great. But it gave me the opportunity to just get straight in and do stuff. I've filmed award ceremonies and events. I've had the opportunity to do sort of a wedding here and there, although I try and stay away from the weddings, because I think recording big days like that, I just don't have the bravery not to mess up. I like being able to edit in post. But yeah, it feels like a business family. And I think that's a part of why my life and work is not two separate things, because my mum is in the same chapter as me. So we talk about it a lot. We talk about how we can help members, how we can be together, how we can support, how we can earn more money. And a lot of them conversations are, other people would see them as work, whereas we just see them as a normal morning with coffee.
So that's a great way to find something you enjoy. Just networking with like-minded people and building those sort of relationships. You know? Yeah,
I would recommend anyone with passion for the job or business they're doing to check out BNI.
Yeah.
And even individuals that maybe have had the experience of it before, just find another chapter. He's 100% a personalities game, not a popularities game, a personalities game. You're not going to like everyone, and when you get chapters of 35 to 50 people, you're not all going to like each other. It's not a thing.
So if you click, you click, eh?
Yeah, so find a chapter that's more your style. If you are, I want to wear a business suit and tie, I want to be in a room where I feel the professionalism, then do. If you want to be in a chapter where it's a little bit more relaxed, you can meet in a pub for the meetings, you can have a drink afterwards, then do. There's no set rule on how every chapter has a different culture, we say.
Yeah.
And you can go to one and then go to another one that's 5 minutes down the road, and they are completely different. The structure's the same, how you earn money is the same, how you support each other is the same. But the culture and the feel you get when you walk into a room is completely different.
Oh, that's crazy. And that's the thing about people, humans, like we're social creatures.
Yeah.
So we emphasize it's so important to build relationships, not just business sense, but just life in general. You know, we need.
Yeah.
You never know what contact is going to be of use to you in the future.
No, you don't. And it grew for me massively from joining when I was 19 with a group of 35 people and thinking that was it, to going over to Poland in 2019 to the global conference. I met people from 37 different countries, all with amazing businesses, all with amazing skills. I've got connections in Japan and Taiwan that I would not have. And it's amazing. And I'm hoping, cross my fingers, that everything sort of lifts up so I can go to the global conference in Miami this year. Hoping, wishing, praying. But yeah, it's amazing. That's all I can say. I can't lie. I've got burgundy blood. I'm BNI through and through. And some people might hear this and go, "Oh no, tried that. Don't like that." It's not for everyone. But I wouldn't be where I'm at today without it. So.
No, that's great. Yeah, I'm glad you found like-minded people and you're in something that you're
Yep.
passionate about because not many people can say that.
No,
Oh,
I think more people need to be able to though.
yeah, definitely, and it's just that fear aspect, just to be able to jump over that hurdle of fear and just dive into it and just be like try something you enjoy doing.
Yeah, and if that means multitasking and doing it with work until you feel confident enough to jump, then
Yeah.
do. There's no set rules of how you have to do stuff.
No.
The only rules are the ones you set yourself.
Yeah, the boundaries you put in your own brain.
Yes,
We're our
you.
worst best. Sorry, we're our worst enemies. In a
Yeah, we
sense.
completely are. We are our worst enemies. And there's nothing. Impossible is a lie.
Yeah.
It's just having the imagination to make the impossible possible.
Yeah, it's not impossible. It's I'm possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you think you can't do something, that is because you haven't worked out how to do it yet.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. And yeah, this is a question I asked all of my guests that I interview. What advice would you give to somebody that's towards the end of their sort of college education or towards the end of their university degree, and they're not sure what they want to do with their life? I was there when I was finishing my university. You're just confused. You've got the whole big wide world ahead of you, and you're struggling to find your passion and your purpose, so to speak.
Stop trying to find it.
Stop trying to find it.
Yep. If you've actually gone through 3-5 years of university,
Yeah.
depending on what you take, and you're at that end point and you're doing all of the practice, LinkedIn profile, getting yourself ready for people to find you, to hire you, and you don't know what your passion is,
Yeah.
stop trying to find it. Think about all of the stuff you have enjoyed doing over them last 3 to 5 years. Was it hanging out in the pub with your friends? Was it playing footy? Was it playing games? Was it staying up all night? And start looking at the stuff you enjoyed doing, and then do more of it.
Do more of it.
It doesn't matter if it's work or not,
Yeah.
because surprisingly, the more you try to focus on doing work, the less work will come to you. Most people land amazing jobs through friends, through family, through hanging out in pubs. One of my friends at university was in that position. I think we maybe had 3 weeks
Yeah.
until we graduated. Roughly, because I sort of took a 2-month vacation in America before my graduation, so I'm not 100% sure where the timeline signs up. But anyway, back to the point. We were in what was called a Hobbit pub.
Hobbit.
Yeah, all the drinks were based on Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, and it was great. And she literally sat there and went, "I have no idea what I'm going to do." And I said, "Why? You've spent the last 3 years in drama. You want to act. You want to do stuff." She's like, "No, I literally don't know what I want to do." She didn't know if she wanted to script write. She didn't know if she wanted to go into acting. And obviously we were drinking, and she started doing voices and having fun. And somebody walked up to her and gave her a business card and said, "Absolutely love your voiceovers. Can you come in for a voice screen thing
Wow.
with me on Monday?"
What a
And
chance
she
for
looked,
that.
and I'm not joking, most of us went, "Is it April the 1st? Or are we having this sort of, what?" But you've got to realise we were in Southampton. It was an acting university.
Yeah.
You were going to expect people to be around there, especially at graduation time, to see final pieces.
Of course.
And somebody walked up to her and she went in and she got a job as a voice person before she graduated. And she stopped worrying. It was literally a case of she was joking around, being herself, doing what she enjoyed, making weird voices and reading lines off of the wall of all the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings stuff. And somebody went up to her and said, "Yeah, I think she's done voiceovers for cartoons and stuff now."
Wow.
And she loves it. And she's gone on to other stuff. We sort of lost a bit of connection. That's what happens when you go different ways. You still talk, but not as much.
No, yeah, everyone's got their own life to live. Yeah.
But focus on what you enjoy. Stop chasing the passion, because the passion will come from inside you. You can't chase it. It's not external. And enjoy doing what you do, and at some point it'll click.
Understood. Yeah, what you just said there about if you chase something, you're sort of repelling it away from you. That
You
reminds.
you can't chase what's inside you. I'd love to know if anyone manages to learn how to chase themselves. It's not a thing I've learned very well.
Yeah.
So you've got to do stuff. You've got to stop chasing and just be in the moment.
Yeah,
And it might happen like her. Obviously, everyone's going to think, oh, that's a fluke. That doesn't happen to everyone. It doesn't. But it could take 2 years. It could take 5 years. My best advice is, do you enjoy football? Get a job around something to do with that. Do you enjoy being in a pub, being social? Get a job in a pub. Do something you enjoy. Don't do something you don't.
Yeah, funny. You mentioned that. I always say that. So my sort of background, I did 3 years at university studying law.
Yep.
And I got my degree in that. But then towards the end of it, I was thinking, do I really want to sit in an office for the rest of my life? You know, that wasn't really appealing to me that much. And then I've had experience in property. I sort of manage property for my family, do a lot of landlord work, and I did that during the university stage. And I thought, one day my friend sent me an advertisement with in a real estate firm, thinking, oh, why don't you look into that? So now what I do as a day job, it relates to what I do in terms of property management.
Yep.
So you literally, it's what you enjoy, and eventually it'll come to you.
It does, and I would not, if you had asked me at university to let you know what I think I'll be doing in 5 years' time, I would have never guessed candles.
Yeah.
Ever. And if we hadn't have had COVID, if we hadn't have lockdown, would I be doing candles? Probably not. And I think that's the best showcase of just being yourself and living day by day, because I'm doing something I enjoy, but that's only because I just lived and let it happen. Yeah. I didn't plan massively ahead. I didn't go into university and expect to love what I was doing when I come out. I seriously thought I would end up making films, writing scripts, and I still could one day. I have no idea where my life is going to go.
Yeah.
I could end up living somewhere in the back end of nowhere, but I know the stuff I do want, and that's what I'm working towards.
Wow, and what you just said there about just let it happen, live in the moment. I feel like I struggle with that because I'm just a massive overthinker, you know.
Yeah, it depends on what you're overthinking on.
Yeah. If
you're planning, fine. I'm a bit of a plan freak. I like to know what it is, but I think life experience is something that does teach you a lot. And I'm so open to it now. I wasn't when I was younger. Everybody used to tell me stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I'll learn it myself. Yeah. But I've had 2 very long distance relationships for multiple years. And we planned a lot. What was going to happen, what was going to do, where we were going to settle down, where we were going to have a house.
That's what messes up.
And everything fell through. Yeah. Because on both of them occasions, we stopped living in the future and we started waiting for our lives to start.
Yeah.
And it ruined it. And now it's not that I refuse to do that now. I still have, in a sense, some of them conversations. But it's not, this is in rock, this is what I want to happen. It's, hey, I like the idea of living somewhere with a lot of land, or I like the idea of living in the UK, or little things like that. Yeah. Not planning every single little thing, because the worst thing you can do is wait for your life to start. And I think a lot of young relationships do that. It's like, oh, we're going to move in together. That's the pinnacle. That's when our relationship will start. No, you're in the relationship. Live in it, in the moment. It's going to change. It's going to do stuff, and that's the same with business. Like I've had collaborations and stalls and markets just pop up out of nowhere just through having conversations with people that wouldn't have happened if I had this really rigid plan of everything I've wanted to do with my business.
Yeah.
So be careful with overthinking. I think obviously that feeds into the fear aspect.
Agree.
But I think the question for you is, what are you actually scared of?
I don't know. For me, it's probably I like everything to be sort of perfect. Like, I need to save this amount of money, or I need to get this started at this time. But you're right, just live it day by day and just act on now, act rather than acting in the future.
It's really interesting. I actually want to know, I don't completely steal your podcast, but what do you associate with failure? What is failure look like for you?
So for me, failure is probably what I've lived in the past, like not having money, not having financial freedom, not being able to afford basic things of, let's say, today I want to go and eat at a restaurant, or today I want to book this flight. Just not being able to do stuff you want to do. That's what I associate with sort of failure.
Okay. So when you look at that and then look at what you do, how irrational is that fear of failure? If you wanted to go and eat at a restaurant, ignoring the fact we're in lockdown, could you?
If you're talking about takeaway, technically I could, yeah, I could.
Okay, so nothing's stopping you from doing that. Exactly. If you wanted to book a flight, saying that we could fly, could you?
Technically, if I really wanted to, I could, yeah.
So the idea of the failure of not being able to do stuff is completely irrational, and most people's fear of failure is irrational.
Yeah.
My biggest fear is loneliness. I do not like being on my own. I'm not an extrovert. I'm not an introvert. I'm sort of sat in the middle. I'm an omnivert. I love being around people, tons of them, but through a screen or in different rooms. I don't like being in a room on my own. I'm happy if someone's sleeping in the corner. So it's a bit weird. But my fear is being alone and not having anyone around me and not communicating with anyone. So I know that's irrational, and the way I get around it is I don't move out. Like, I'm at home because I get everything I need from my family. Me living on my own would just be pointless.
Yeah.
I would be alone. I would be paying more money to other people that want my family that would not be benefiting them. It would be benefiting someone else, and I would be miserable by doing it. Yeah, so I think the best thing to ask yourself when you're going, oh, I'm scared I will fail, is what is your fear? What is it, and can you rationalize it? You're scared of not being able to fly and not being able to go to a restaurant. You can do both them things. There's nothing stopping you from doing either of them things.
But I'm talking about from a financial point of view, like being so like broke or poor that you financially that you can't do that,
Oh no, I completely understand that. Yeah. And still again, I would go back to saying, are you living within your means?
Yeah.
By doing that. If you're actively working, if that's in a job or as an entrepreneur, you're actively working. And even if you're not earning tons, you're only earning enough to live.
Yeah.
My question then is, your fear of not being able to travel, not being able to do what you want, is what you want out of the means you're currently earning. And if that's the case, then you're not failing. You're just wanting more than you can do right now. So adjust what you're doing to meet the expectations of what you don't want to fail.
Well, that's a very rational way of looking at it.
It makes it easier to rationalize it, because then you're not scared of it, and then you can just enjoy it. If you want to eat at a Michelin star restaurant each night and it's going to cost you $1,000, then you need to be earning $7,000 in minimum to just be able to pay for that. And if that means you have to up your prices or get out and work harder, then that's what you do.
That's what you have to do. So
don't let fear cripple you into doing nothing, because that's worse.
That's the worst thing you can do. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that ration. I've actually learned 3 main things just by talking to you. The first one is just live in the now and just go for it. It's hard. It's hard. It is.
But I promise you, if you can try to, and I fail it on a daily basis, but you can do it. And when you're not failing it, it feels a lot better.
Yeah, and what you just said about fear as well, rationality. That's a very realistic way of looking at it, and a very practical way as well.
Yeah. It's quite interesting you say that, because I don't think I've ever been described as a realist.
Really?
No. I'm very optimistic. I think I balance out some of my best friends because my best friends are complete pessimists.
Wow.
And we meet in the middle. Somebody will say, well, this can't happen because of this. And I go, well, you're saying can't, but you're assuming. And we balance each other out. And I think that realistic part is completely optimistic as well.
Of course.
I choose, and it is a choice, and it's a choice for everyone. I choose to wake up in the morning and smile.
Yeah.
Instead of let yesterday or whatever happened yesterday hold me down. And that did take a long time to get to that point. It wasn't a click overnight, okay, I'm this amazing positive guru type person. No. I get my anger from my dad and my stubbornness from my mum. If you get the wrong side of me, I'm a terrible person.
Yeah.
But I choose, and because I know that, I choose to not be like that.
That's great, because that just shows that you're in control of yourself. You know, you're not at anyone's mercy. You're not giving your power away to anyone. You know.
No, you choose who you want to be, how you want to act. I see the two hardest things for a human to do is admit that they are never in control, and admit that they are always to blame.
Yeah. Because
we always want to blame someone else for something instead of ourselves. And I'm not going to go too much into that. It's something that I sort of learned a while ago, is that everything I do, everything that happens, it is on me. Right. Nobody else can make me feel upset. Nobody else can make me feel bad. I'm doing that to myself.
Yeah.
You read something that you don't agree with, or you read something that upsets you, that's still you getting upset. That's not that thing making you upset. Nobody controls your inside.
It's how you interpret it.
Yes. Yeah. And you have the choice to interpret that differently. You also have the choice not to. And if you want to get upset, that's also your right to do so. Yeah. But it's like somebody telling me, oh, you're fat.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's your descriptive word for me. I don't have to agree, and I don't have to have an emotional reaction to it.
Yeah, it was what makes that person's opinion so valid and so, you know...
It could be valid, it could not be. It's how do you want to react to that? And if you don't want to react to that, sadly, then don't. That's completely your choice. A lot of the time, I think the conversation comes up within family quite a bit, is say you're dieting or something like that, and you go, oh, you are the reason I can't diet because you bring bad food into the house. Excuse me? You are in control of yourself.
Yeah. You
choose to eat that food. You choose not to. You choose to open the cupboard. It is all you, down to you getting sick. Nobody else has made you sick. Nobody. If you... And it's a dangerous topic to get into, because you can touch on stuff that maybe people don't completely agree with.
Yep.
But take COVID, for example. I have had someone close to me that has had it and has gone, oh, I blame the person that gave it to me. You went out. Yeah. You are the one with the sickness, nobody else's, which means you are the one that contracted it. It's not wholly on them. Yes, should they have gone out? No. Did they know? You don't know. The point is, it's you that's got it. So at the end of the day, you are the one to blame. And the second you can adjust that and stop blaming other people and just think about yourself, it gets so much easier. You're just like, okay, I don't care. Like, cool, whatever. I don't care anymore. And it's quite a lot to that. But that's how I try to see things, because it's easier to enjoy life than constantly live in a state of blame, control. You can't control what other people do either, so stop trying.
Yeah, I'm a strong advocate of you don't control events, you don't control what other people do, but you control how you react to them.
Yep. So say somebody takes your favourite toy, and you get mad at them and you go, oh, you took my favourite toy, I blame you for this, why did you do that, if only you wouldn't do this. All of them phrases. One, you can't control. They're going to take your toy, it's going to happen. How are you going to cope with that without wanting to control the situation.
Yeah.
As soon as you can give up wanting to control the situation and everything, it can become so much easier. And I notice it, and I think I'm a lot younger, so I've adapted to it a lot quicker.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder on my mum and stuff, because someone will do something and they'll do it badly. So say you give someone a task, right?
Yeah.
And they do that task terribly. And you're sat there fuming because you know you could have done that task better.
You could have done it better, yeah.
Yeah, but it was their task to do, and you gave them that task, and they did the task. They just didn't do it the way you wanted them to do it. Now, think about that line. You wanted to get them to do the task for you in a way you wanted them to do it, and they didn't do it that way, so now you're mad at them.
Yeah,
that is a whole situation of control.
When it was your choosing, and even that sort of thing of like finding blame or pointing the finger, you're wasting energy. You could use that energy to just fix the issue, and that's it. And be
so the only situation to that is, one, don't give people a task that you're not willing to let them do, and two, don't waste energy being mad at a situation that you created hoping to control. You can't control it. You can't control if they're going to do it, how they're going to do it, or when they're going to do it. So why do you care? Yeah. You've given them the task. If you're giving them a task, you're giving them to do it. It interests me a lot how I think we go around day by day wanting to control stuff, and then getting mad because we can't.
Yeah, I agree. So, you sound like, from what you just said, you sound like the type of person that doesn't really get mad at people.
I used to.
Yeah.
I don't as much anymore. My ticking blocks is definitely when I'm tired. My rationality, in a sense, is a much lower. Yeah. But no, I haven't flipped out at anyone in a very long time. And there's been occasions where I think I really could have. And I think a lot of that is because I have just learned to stop trying to control everything. People aren't going to agree. Perfect example was this morning, or last night. Let's just say I've been working on very little sleep recently. Yeah. And last night I was running something online with my friends, and we just kept dying over and over and over again. And for any of the gamers out there, let's just say that is stressful as all hell.
Yeah.
And I turned into a complete Godzilla bitch. In the honest truth. I went, can anybody who's not doing the high enough DPS get the hell out of here? I am done. I want to clear this fight. Go away. In the nicest possible way with a lot of swear words. And I know I brassed a few people off. So this morning I messaged everyone that was in there going, I am really sorry about last night. That was completely out of my character. I am going to just get more sleep because I realised that was completely on me. And someone came back to me and said they were really hurt by it. Not just me, but by the situation. And I sort of sat there reading that message going, I would normally have flipped at that point and gone, well, it's not my fault, I apologise, blah, blah, blah. And tried to flip it on them and tell them what they did wrong.
Yeah.
And I sat there and went, I actually don't know what to say to this. There's nothing I can say to this. She feels off. I apologised. So I just went back and said, if you need to chat, let's chat. And we did. And I listened to everything she wanted to say. I gave her a little bit of advice on what I would have done in that situation and just told her to do what she felt was right. And there was no argument. There was no trauma. There was no big issue because I realised right then and there, I can't control how she feels.
No,
and me trying to control how she feels would only have caused a bigger issue.
Yeah, you just cause an issue on yourself and on that person as well.
Yeah. So in any situation, if it's a conversation or if it's a work deal or if it's making a sale or if it's controlling what your parents eat, you can't control the situation. You can't make someone feel something. You can't make someone do something. And I think the parents will understand this more from the conversations I've had. You can't control your children.
No.
So don't try and control anyone else. kids are the perfect example. They will do, say whatever they want when they want. They have no understanding about social cues or culture. They will mimic, copy, and you'll sit there going, oh my God, why did you say that? Or why have you done that? Or, oh my God, my white wall is no longer white.
Yeah.
You can't get mad at them. They don't know any different. So I don't know, treat everyone like children. It's probably the way I'm going here. No. Try not to think about it when you're about to say something. Are you saying that to spur a reaction out of someone? Are you saying that to, in a sense, get something from it? Because if you are, you're saying the wrong thing.
Understood. Wow, that's quite an interesting take, and I feel like I need to sort of take that on as well, because I deal with a lot of clients, a lot of people. They get flipped off the wrong way if things don't fall into place, but like you said,
and you go into repair mode, don't you?
You go into repair mode, but if it's out of your control, the issue, there's only so much you could do about it,
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. We see anger and go straight into that. Oh my God, we've got to make them feel okay.
Yeah.
Instead of making them do anything, understanding why they feel that way and saying, okay, I will try to do this, or I will see what I can do, or just telling them honestly. Honesty is the best way to go. Yeah. And I know it can be really hard sometimes. We find it a lot easier as humans to lie. Yeah. But being honest and just saying, there's nothing I can do. I'm sorry you're mad. If there is anything I can do to help you or stuff, I will try, but I can't fix this situation. And being honest, because at least then they will go away feeling angry because they didn't get what they want, because they were trying to control the situation, instead of them going away feeling like you've tricked, betrayed, or lied to them. Being angry because you couldn't control something is a lot easier to get over than any of the other reasons. Yeah. They get very complicated very quickly.
I don't know. Yeah, you can't make anyone happy. Sorry, you can't make everyone happy.
No, you can't. And some people, you've got to realize, some people don't want to be happy. Like, okay, I've said, yes, I live everything day by day by the moment, and I enjoy my life. But enjoyment for some people is being miserable. Yeah. That's not a bad thing. Stop associating smiles with happiness and frowns with sadness. Some people just generally want to be miserable, and that isn't a bad thing. They want to be doom and gloom. They want to be dark and shadows. And they're still great people. They just see the world in a very different way, and that shouldn't be a bad thing either.
Yeah, everyone's got their own perception. Everyone's got their own opinion,
Yep. And sadly, we have freedom of speech, so all opinions matter.
Yeah. Or they say they do,
They do to the people that count. Let's go with that.
Yeah. All right, so we've been on for over an hour. Is there anything you'd like to say in closing?
Just really thank you for inviting me. You sort of said you've got a little bit out of this. I've actually got quite a bit out of this, because just listening to you comment back on a few of the things I said and just hearing myself say some of it again, I think I needed the kick up the arse myself to realise what I probably need to not do and what I need to get better at. But yeah, no, thank you for inviting me. Thanks, Jero, for, putting us in touch.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on. And everybody tune in to the next episode of London Boy Podcast.